What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds bbq. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful, delicious, smoky, porky, honey bourbon glazed holiday pork loin roast. Coming up! Typically when reaching for cuts to throw in the old barbecue pit, we're always going for the fattiest cuts out there. You know, beef ribs, pork belly, brisket, pork shoulder, the list goes on. And that's for a great reason, because fat is flavor and fat is also moisture. So it's a lot easier to cook these fattier cuts over a long period of time in the old low and slow method, because all that fat is really gonna make sure that none of the meat gets too dry or too tough. Also, these tougher cuts are full of collagen and connective tissue, which are gonna help break down and create some super tender meat along the process. But eating all these fatty meats all the time kind of have their own side effects. So today we're going to take a look at a leaner cut, probably the most overlooked cut of all, which is the good old-fashioned pork loin. That's right, folks. Today I'm going to show you how I cook a good old pork loin roast, and it is going to be delicious. This is a boneless pork loin roast. I got this from the sponsor of this week's video, Porter Road. Porter Road is an online butcher shop based out of Nashville, Tennessee that specializes in high quality meat, whether it's chicken, lamb, pork, or beef. And all their beef comes dry aged, and it's absolutely fantastic. I've actually got a steak in there cooking right now that I'm gonna have for dinner right after this shoot. My favorite part about Porter Road is that you can go online and choose all the exact cuts that you want, whether they're classic cuts like a pork loin or a ribeye steak, but also they have all the off cuts, the butcher cuts like lamb ribs or pig wings, pork briskets, pork short ribs, you name it, they've got it, because everything they do is hand cut. So they're really trying to give you the best experience and all the other cuts that you're not going to find at your local grocery store. Another great benefit of shopping with Porter Road is you can rest easy knowing that they source all their meat respectfully from ranches and farmers around the United States that treat their animals well, meaning no cages, happy animals that lived a great life and produce really fantastic meat. So if you're in the market to get some high quality meat shipped directly to your door, use the link in the description of this video heading to porterroad.com, where you can get 15% off your order. Again, that's porterroad.com. Use the link in the description of this video, and I highly recommend choosing something that you may have not cooked before, because everything I've tried from them has been absolutely amazing. Again, that's porterroad.com, link in the description, 15% off your order using that link. And also, all orders over $100 ships for free. Great time for the holidays. Thank you, Porter Road. There are many ways to prepare a pork loin for the barbecue pit. You can butterfly them out, stuff them, roll them up, and tie them. You can cut them into individual steaks and cook them off like a little pork loin chop. But today we're going to cook it as a whole roast, which is great this time of year, because a pork loin roast is great for the holidays because you can really appease everyone, especially your certain family members that may not like super fatty cuts. But to add some extra flavor, because it is a super lean cut, we're going to give it a brine. As you may have guessed, our brine is starting out with some water, to which we're going to add some kosher salt, 5% salinity. We're also going to go in with some brown sugar, crushed garlic, a cinnamon stick, some allspice berries, some juniper berries, just because I had them lying around, some coriander seed, mustard seed, ground nutmeg, black peppercorns, star anise, cloves, red pepper flakes, fresh rosemary, and for some acidity, some apple cider vinegar. We're just gonna whisk that up till everything is nicely dissolved. So for this brine, I'm going with some pretty classic autumn flavors, some nice warming spices from the star anise and the cloves and the cinnamon, that kind of stuff. They play really well with pork. The apple cider vinegar is also going to help because apple and pork is a great combination, but because it's a vinegar as opposed to just apple juice, it's going to help tenderize the meat while adding some wonderful flavor. You could easily do the whole boil some of this so all the salts and sugars dissolve, but if you let it sit for a little bit and keep whisking it, everything will dissolve and come together quite nicely. Now that everything is nicely dissolved, we're going to go in with our pork loin roast, and this thing is absolutely beautiful. Wonderful fat cap on there, not too thick, which is great. We're going to get some really nice slices out of this. Perfect size for a roast. Now into the fridge overnight. We will smoke this thing off tomorrow. Have a holly jolly boot snake. After a nice long overnight brine, this pork loin is coming out. I'm gonna pour out this brine, give it a quick rinse, and then we will finish seasoning it up. Beautiful. And as you can see, this thing is darkened up quite a bit, taking on a little bit more color. A lot of that's because of the acid we had in the brine, which has denatured some of the outer proteins. But now all we're gonna do is finish it up by hitting it with a little bit of black pepper, of course, and some more granulated garlic. And you can go on with whatever rubs you like right now. A nice herb rub would be good, or maybe a nice sweet rub if that's something you're into. But just a nice even coating for a little extra flavor and a better presentation. And of course, don't forget those sides. All right, that is looking good to me. Onto the pit it goes. We got this pit rocking right around 275, 300 degrees. So on we go with our pork loin roast. Check back in a little bit. While we wait for our pork loin to come up to temp, let's go ahead and make ourselves a glaze. Starting out with some honey, a shot of Dijon mustard, a little bit of brown sugar, and some apple juice. And we're just gonna whisk that together till everything comes nice and combined. And once that comes up to a simmer, before it boils over, all looking nice and frothy, then we're gonna go in with a nice shot of some bourbon. Ooh, how you doing? Yeah, a little more than that. And we'll just let all that alcohol burn off, and then our bourbon honey glaze for our pork loin is done. Don't mind if I do. Actually, on second thought, let's mount it with a little bit of cold butter right at the end here. Add a little extra richness to the party. Make it a nice cohesive sauce. After a couple hours on the smoker, this pork loin has reached an internal temperature of around 140, 145 degrees and is ready to come off the pit. But as you can see, it's not all that appetizing looking. We've still got a lot of unrendered fat cap on top. So, to finish this off, we're gonna throw it on the grill. Ba-bam! After getting some lovely color on there, a little too much in some spots, I'm gonna put this offset from the hot coals, and we're gonna start painting on our glaze. Also, this is why I hate tongs, but we're gonna keep moving forward. Gotta love a good honey bourbon glaze. Am I right, folks? It's go great on ribs too. We're gonna just do a nice thin layer, shut the lid for just a little bit, let this high heat kind of caramelize that glaze on, do another few layers, and she'll be ready to go. And there we have it, folks, fresh off the grill, a beautiful, look at that, you can even see my reflection in it, honey bourbon glazed pork loin roast, ready to hit the holiday tables. But I think it's time to slice in. Ooh, oh yeah, feeling real nice. Gotta love a good pork loin. So many applications too, you know, you can just eat it, meat on a plate with some veg on the side, make a great sandwich out of it. Looking fantastic. I like them nice and thin, but you can do you. Make them nice and thick if you like. Oh, that looks heavenly. But without further ado, let's see how this thing came out, shall we? Ooh. Oh, that's lovely. Nice and porky, really good texture on there. That brine really comes through, all those fall flavors, really give it a nice note. Decent little fat cap on there, helps add some moisture to the party, because, you know, it's pretty lean cut, this old pork loin. No complaints here, folks. That glaze on top really makes a difference. Definitely taste that bourbon, but not in an overpowerful way. That apple in the glaze and the sugar really help complement the brine, because it's got that apple cider kick to it. Tell you what, this would make for a great little pork sandwich. Nice and smoky, not overbearing. A nice gravy would go really well with this, but that flavor on there is so good. So tasty. I don't feel bad eating it because it's not super fatty, but it's still nice and juicy. And it pairs really well with bourbon, as most things do. Tell you what, guys, I'm not usually one to reach for the pork loin when I'm at the grocery store, but whenever I make these videos like this where I do a cut that I'm not usually all that fond of, I'm blown away. It's a nice change of pace too. But without further ado, folks, let's go in for the official taste test. All right, one more. All right, y'all, that is it. That is how to make an absolutely fantastic pork loin roast. Again, big shout out to Porter Road. Thank you for sponsoring this video and sending me that lovely piece of pork. And if you're in the market for some really good meat this holiday season, be sure to head over to Porter Road. They've got a lot of holiday options for you ready to go, and they are ready for pre-order right now. But if you do get this recipe to try it for yourself, be sure to hit me up on Instagram at Chuds bbq. I love to see what y'all are cooking. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot to me. I know a lot of y'all watching this video have not hit the subscribe button yet. It only takes a second. It helps me out a lot, so please consider it. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud, and until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace!